Afternoon, everybody. Hope everybody's having a good day. I'm Jim. This is the 312 Workshop. And it's a rather rainy early August day here in Western North Carolina. And we're, well, to be honest, I'm trying to find motivation. Motivation's kind of hard. So I spent today, first day I've been in the shop in a while. And I spent the day, and I'm just cleaning up and vacuuming and just kind of doing some infrastructure projects. I think Adam Savage said it best. Um, Projects to kind of clean things up to reduce the friction in the workflow. Sometimes you're working on something and something happens. You got to move things out of your way to get something else. And that's what I mean by friction. Things that slow down the building process, the creative process. So one of my other projects here that I think I'm going to have to do is I have very rudimentary dust collection in here. We're dealing with some flex hose and some gates. I use ball valves for blast gates, that kind of thing. But I have here we go. Oh, Jesus, it's full again. I'm sure a lot of you either have a small cyclone or a dust topper like this, which is fine. But it's a 6-gallon bucket. Got it from a friend who, I don't know, he kind of got out of the hobby of brewing, so it is what it is. But he, found a 6-gallon bucket. It was like, great, that'll work fine. And it worked for a while. Now, about 2 months back, I did a lamp project where I had to mill a lot of oak. And of course, first step is the joiner, then the planer or thicknesser for my European friends, and then the table saw, the usual triad. And my dust collection, you saw the hose I was putting up there, I can break that out and bring it over to my joiner or my table saw. I don't have anything on the planer. But even then, jointing and squaring up, doing the preliminary work on some oak boards, about 35 or 40 of them, I filled this stupid thing 3 times, which is great. It wasn't all over the place. But having to stop and take it outside and empty it, come back in, reset it up, continue joining, it just added a little bit of, again, friction to the workflow. So I'm trying to alleviate some of this. So this is good, but I managed to get my hands on a 12 and a half? 12 gallons, 12-gallon bucket. So 6.5, 12, which, hopefully that'll work. I mean, I'll have to empty it half as much in theory, or do twice as much work, which that can be good too. But as you can see, the top is rather big. So I think this is a 3.5 gallon bucket that I'm going to cut. I'll make a top for that, put a hole in it, slide this down in, this whatever I cut off, slide it down in. We'll do some weather stripping or caulking of some sort, and then the dust topper will fit on this, which will be wonderful. And then, here we are. Much better. Oh, the other thing is, with a small bucket like this, I noticed occasionally I was having problems. This thing was, when it wasn't very full, was lifting off the floor. So I still don't know what it is. It's concrete disc. But anyway, I had to set that in the bottom to keep it from lifting when it's very empty. The other bucket, this weighs as much as this does with that in it. So hopefully I won't have any problems. And yes, it did seem strange to have to take this outside and empty it to make an adapter for a bigger bucket. But it is what it is. And we will do what we can. Now I'm hoping, because It is getting a little warm in here again. It's not terrible outside. It's in the mid-70s. The problem is the dew point is in the mid-70s. So everything feels wet. Anyway. So, I think the first thing I need to do before I do anything else is get down the rip fence. There we go. And as you can see, a small shop introduces friction by itself. All right, well, the first thing I need to do is measure the top of this. Just a little stronger than 14 3/4 in this case. So I'm gonna rip some plywood down here, a couple pieces, to 15 inches wide. That'll be a good start. Okay, I've got 3 pieces of plywood, 15 square, ready to go. You might wonder why didn't use that piece. You know, it's a shop project, right? But it was 14 in one direction, and that was a little too small. I needed 15 square. Anyway, so now I got to cut the top off of this. And there's all different ways I could use a multi-tool. I could just saw it. I think the table saw will work out the best, and that's why I've clamped this to the fence, because I'll be able to hold it 90 degrees. The plane of the top will be 90 degrees to the side. It's tapered. It'll be a little interesting. What I'm going to do is I will roll it in, spin it. Here's the trick. As the cut completes, I will have to hold this and take this away, turn off the saw, let it come to a complete stop. Or this cut piece could bind in here and kick back. There's still a chance of that, but we'll see how it works. Ta-da! Echo. Dust collection off. Automation's a good thing. Anyway, there's my ring. On to the next step. So what I'm doing here is, instead of cutting the very top in a circle, I'm just going to nip the corners off. But I want to make sure I have enough overhang. And I've made sure that the bucket is basically, for the most part, centered on the square of plywood. This is a little tricky, and this will give me an approximate, but I want about a 1/2 inch. And I will just mark roughly all 4 corners. As you can see, I thought very seriously about cutting it at an angle right next to it. And I went, no, I want a little bit of overlap. I don't have quite as much overlap at the edges, but it'll work. Yeah, it was a little sketch. I don't know, am I allowed to use terms of my daughter? A little sketchy. But I do have another miter gauge coming for this saw. I managed to get hands on one of those Vevor 24-inch ones. Not that it would help. I mean, it might help. You know, I guess I could have done it on this side, but I would have been off the saw, which was not good. But that'll work. But as you can see, I think that's the last of the table saw I need. I hope. And I'm sure you can see I've got enough friction and things that kind of interrupt the workflow in this shop. But it's small, but it's home. You know? You can really do a lot in a small shop. Okay, the screws are just going to act as temporary clamps. I'm just gluing these two pieces together. So now what I'm going to do is cut the outside perimeter so that it just fits inside this bucket. Then I will glue the top on and cut the inside hole in all three pieces. So what I tried to do was flip this bucket over, draw a circle on the outside, and then approximate the 5/16 of an inch that this is thick, and run another circle inside. Couldn't really figure out a nice, neat way to do that. Instead, what I used is 2 Velcro strips. I found the center. I dropped the little hook over the nail. Then I use the opposite, the hook side. This is the furry side. And I set this on top of the other piece of Velcro. Then I took my pencil and I just carefully went all the way around. And it worked out pretty good. It's actually, I'm going to cut off about 1/4 inch. That'll leave me that other 16th to play with. And that's what sanders were invented for, right? On to the next bit. There we go. As you can tell, if you look through the door, it is now early November. Life happens. Anyway, so got a hole cut through, got these done. I did sand this on the outside with a slight taper in so that it fits the bucket better. I'm going to do the same thing here. It'll have a slight taper in. I'll show you how to do that after I cut this hole out. Sometimes you just need a really long blade. Okay, so what I've done is I've set up my sander. I have one of these oscillating sanders from Rigid. I've actually pulled this table a little higher so that it's above 90. And this will angle this slightly and will trim the top a little wider than the bottom. And what I'll do is I will, careful not to lean on this, but I will go around and get close to the edge of the circle that I've drawn on the bottom side. And then I will keep test fitting. The idea is that I will slip fit this in down to this point, and that's where I'll put my weather stripping. Okay, now that the fit's good, I'm going to put weather stripping around this lip, and on my piece, I will put weather stripping around here. This is where it'll fit the bucket, and this is where this piece will slide in there. The trick with the weather stripping is you don't want to stretch it. You just want to lay it on there, and the adhesive will take care of the rest. Okay, time for final assembly. This slides in, fits nice and tight. That fits nice and tight. There we go. Okay, and now we'll just snap the dust stopper back on, or on the new bucket, as it were. There we go. And snap. There we go. Hopefully that'll help with the friction that sometimes builds when doing projects down here. But thank you for hanging around. I really appreciate it. If you want to hit the like and subscribe button, that'd be great. I've got a buy me a coffee link down below. A couple of you have jumped in on that, which has been very, very nice, and I want to thank you extremely. This will help. Now I just got to put it in place here and get to building more projects, hopefully very soon. This is Jim from the 312 Workshop. Again, thank you much. I really appreciate you stopping by. Have a good one. Bye for now.